Good afternoon, meteorologist Everett Lau back with an update as we have an active tornado warning in effect for Owen and northern Monroe counties. This is going to be in effect until 4:15 Eastern time. And right now this is radar indicated. There's no reports of anything on the ground, but this thunderstorm is starting to spin in the upper atmosphere, so it could produce a tornado. So as a result, if you are in Spencer or down to the southeast, northern Monroe County, now's the time you're going to want to seek shelter. This thunderstorm also has a history of producing hail up to ping pong ball sized. We've already had reports of hail in parts of Clay County and now through Owen County. So this is going to be the area of most concern right here. It's hard to tell with this lightning. I'll try to turn this off here in a little bit, but this is the area that's trying to spin just a little bit. So right over the city of Spencer. So again, Spencer, now's the time to seek shelter. If you haven't done so already, go to the lowest, most interior room. And this thunderstorm is moving to the east, a little to the southeast, at about 40 miles per hour. So again, this warning for Owen County and Monroe County, also the southwestern fringe of Morgan County, until 4:15 Eastern time. So now I'm going to step off screen so I can show you some different information as this warning continues. We'll turn off the lightning so you can kind of get a better look at this thunderstorm. And this is a storm that has been tracking through parts of Clay County and producing that hail earlier, and now it is trying to rotate just a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the rotation within this thunderstorm. This is what we call velocity data, and that is showing us what the wind is doing inside this thunderstorm. And where you see the brighter colors, the reds and the greens interacting together, that's where you're going to be seeing that stronger rotation. So based on this radar image, it looks like most of the wind has now dived down to the south of the city of Spencer, and then it's also going to be in the southern part of Owen County. So this area is where we're starting to see most of the rotation with this thunderstorm. And again, that warning is going to continue until 4:15. So once it moves out of Owen County, going to be moving down towards Ellettsville and eventually into Bloomington. So now what I'll do is I will put a storm track on there so you can tell when your community is going to be impacted by this thunderstorm. Again, moving at about 40 miles per hour. We'll draw the line here around Spencer, drag this down to the southeast. Ellettsville 4:12, so about 10 minutes before the core of that thunderstorm moves into the area. Arlington 4:21, and then the city of Bloomington around 4:24 Eastern time. So again, we still have the tornado warning for Owen County and northern Monroe County until 4:15. But in addition to producing this rotation, this thunderstorm also has a history of producing some very large hail. So now what you're looking at is the hail tracker, and you can see right over the city of Spencer, that is where radar is indicating some of the largest hail with this thunderstorm. And you can see the legend up here at the top. You get into the blues, and that's where you're starting to see quarter-sized hail. So that's this shade here, and then every once in a while there's a little speck of some darker blue. That is half-dollar-sized hail that's possible with this thunderstorm, and at times it has produced up to ping-pong ball-sized hail. And so this is all moving down to the east, a little bit to the southeast, at about 40 miles per hour, so right over Spencer now, and then eventually headed down towards Ellettsville, and then towards the north side of Bloomington. So while we also have that threat for rotation, don't forget about the hail that is also associated with this. And of course, with any thunderstorm, you could also be seeing some gusty wind. So make sure you are seeking shelter from this thunderstorm if you are in its path. Most of the Wabash Valley has been just fine today, especially our Illinois communities. Now we can take a live look at the storm tracker across the area. Most of the activity now focused in our eastern areas. We do have some thunderstorm activity down here for those of you watching in Knox County, Davies County, Martin, and southern Greene County. But at this time, there are no warnings for any of these thunderstorms. They have been producing some small hail, some lightning, and some heavy rain. But at this time, they are all below severe limits. The main storm of concern is going to be this thunderstorm in Owen County that's right over Spencer and moving down to the east and a little to the southeast at about 40 miles per hour, and that has prompted that tornado warning until 4:15 for those areas as this thunderstorm continues to move through. But as I mentioned earlier, this is for radar indicated rotation. So while this warning is in effect, there's not any confirmation that a tornado is on the ground. What that means is this thunderstorm is starting to spin. We can see some of that rotation on radar, and the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that warning in case one were to develop. So again, recapping for those of you who just may be tuning in, we'll take a wide look at the storm tracker. Most of the Wabash Valley not being impacted by thunderstorms at this time, but we do have this one main thunderstorm in Owen and northern Monroe County that has prompted a tornado warning until 4:15 Indiana time. We can zoom in that area, and it's right over Spencer now. I'll turn the lightning back off so you can get a better look at where the heaviest rain is falling, and then it's also sliding down towards Ellettsville. So a lot of heavy rain coming out of this thunderstorm, beneficial rain, but coming down very heavily at this point, and we certainly don't need the severe weather that is trying to accompany these thunderstorms. Let's take another look at the hail tracker to see if we've got an updated look at the hail core, and it has updated. It is now once again estimating that we could be seeing hailstones up to ping pong ball sized, and that's some of the reports we've gotten earlier. So again, here's Vandalia, here's 46, right through Spencer, and that's where you're seeing some of the strongest indicators of where some of that larger hail could be falling. And again, moving down to the east, southeast at about 40 miles per hour. So McCormick's Creek State Park just sits right off here. So if you know anyone in that area, hopefully they've taken shelter as this thunderstorm continues to move through, because of course there's also lightning associated with this thunderstorm as it moves into northern Monroe County. So we're going to go back to the storm tracker so you can get a look at where the heaviest rain is falling and see if there's any new information. We did just get a new warning that has been issued. So let me go back to the full viewing area mode of the storm tracker, and you can see this new warning is now for southern Davies and southern Martin counties. So we'll zoom in on that area. For those of you watching there, this thunderstorm has just reached severe limits. So this warning is going to be in effect until, let me put the information box on there for you, 4:30 Eastern time. And this is for a thunderstorm moving to the east at 40 miles per hour, capable of producing hail up to golf ball sized, and also 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So this thunderstorm now right around Washington, and then another core of it is just to the south of Montgomery there in Davies County. So now we have two active warnings in effect for the News 10 viewing area. This new one for Davies and Martin counties until 4:30 Eastern time for a thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball sized hail and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And then we also have the tornado warning that continues for Owen County and northern Monroe County, and this is in effect until 4:15. So this warning is set to expire here in a few minutes. We'll see if the National Weather Service gives us any updated information, if they extend this warning through Monroe County, because obviously this thunderstorm is just now trying to move out of Owen County, still in the Spencer area at this time, and it continues to move to the east-southeast. But you can see some of those bright colors showing up here on the radar. I can take the warning information off for you. And when you see these brighter colors, especially in reflectivity mode, this indicates either really heavy precipitation, or sometimes that can be an indicator of where you're seeing some hail that's being picked up by radar. We can turn the lightning back on, and lightning can also be an indicator of where you're seeing a lot of hail. And so obviously there are a lot of lightning bolts being detected in this area. And so it's no surprise that we are seeing those reports of hail coming out of this thunderstorm. Here's a look at the hail tracker. We'll take a look at this cell again, and it is still indicating ping pong to golf ball, and even one little spot there to the east of Spencer, potentially hailstones up to hen egg sized. But again, this is radar indicated. This is not confirmed reports that we've gotten so far, but this is what radar is using to look in the thunderstorm and see what is falling. Some new information just coming in from the National Weather Service chat room. It does say that there was a public report of baseball-sized hail in Spencer. That was at 4:05, so that was just a few minutes ago. So no surprise there, based on these indications we're seeing on radar, that we do have large hail falling in Spencer. Down to the south now, where we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued. This is going to be for the northern part of Davies County, northern Martin County, and then also southern Greene County. So another thunderstorm has reached severe limits as indicated by the National Weather Service. So you can see that hail core located just to the west of Odin, there in northern Davies County. So that's prompted this warning. And then we now have a new this was the severe thunderstorm warning for Davies and Martin County, also producing hail right now on US 50 between Washington, and this is headed over towards Montgomery. So that's prompted that warning for Davies and Martin County. So a couple different clusters of thunderstorms, mainly warned for the capability of producing that large hail now in the southern part of the Wabash Valley. So again, if you are in Davies, Martin, and Greene counties, there are severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for your location. We're going to turn Storm Tracker back over to the map you're used to seeing, and that shows reflectivity, or where you could see some of the heavier rain associated with some of these thunderstorms. And so again, most of this activity is centered now in eastern parts of the News 10 viewing area. Terre Haute, most of the threat has moved out as these thunderstorms continue to push east along a cold front. So now you're looking, we still have heavy rain falling now around Washington, and then that hail core extends along US 50 over towards Montgomery. This is going to be moving towards Lagodi, so if you're in that area, be on alert that you may see some large hail here within the next few minutes. And then also over towards Shoals, you're not technically in the warning at this time, but this is headed your way. This is the most recent severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be in effect for northeastern Davies County, northern Martin County, and southern Greene County. This is in effect until 4:30, and this is for a thunderstorm capable of producing half-dollar-sized hail as it moves to the east at 30 miles per hour. So we'll draw a track on this thunderstorm as it moves through Odin right now, headed over towards Crane, moving just a little bit slower than some of our other cells that we've been tracking so far today. So again, moving off to the east. That's going to be putting it in Crane around 4:15, so in about 5 minutes. Doan's around 4:24, and Cale around 4:32 Eastern Time. So that's the most recent severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for the Wabash Valley. Back up to those of you watching in Owen County, another update here. We do have a new tornado warning that was issued for this thunderstorm. This is going to be a tornado warning in effect for Brown, Monroe, Morgan, and Owen County until 5 o'clock. And this thunderstorm is now being warned for the capability of producing baseball-sized hail since we got that report out of Spencer. No surprising that they went ahead and put that in the warning. It is still for radar-indicated rotation, so that is some good news. As of now, there is still no confirmation that anything has touched down and is on the ground, but up in the atmosphere, this thunderstorm is spinning, and we can see that on radar, so that is why the National Weather Service has issued that warning. So we're going to turn the lightning back off so you can get a better look at where this thunderstorm is, and now we will look at our velocity data to see where some of that wind is spinning around. Right now, it looks like the strongest wind associated with this has now moved out of Owen County, so this is going to be around Ellettsville right now and moving into northern Monroe County. North side of Bloomington, if it stays on its current track, it should miss most of the city of Bloomington, but if you're on the north side, that's where that thunderstorm is headed, so seek shelter if you haven't already in northern Monroe County. This thunderstorm is again capable of producing a tornado. One has not been confirmed at this time. Back down to the south where we have active severe thunderstorm warnings, these are issued for some hail that has been reported. So this one is going to be in effect for northeastern Davies, southern Greene, and then also northern Martin County. This one in effect until 4:30, moving off to the east at about 30 miles per hour. It is capable of producing half-dollar-sized hail. And then we have the other warning just a little bit to the south of that for southern Davies and also southern Martin County. And that warning is in effect for a thunderstorm capable of producing hail up to golf ball size. So hail that's a little bit larger than ping pong possible there. Also, as we're looking at the storm tracker, if you're in Vincennes, probably noticing some heavy rain. That is not severe warned at this time, so that cell is staying below severe limits. And we will zoom back out on the storm tracker, and you can see where all these thunderstorms have lined up. This is along a cold front that's moving across the Wabash Valley, and we knew with the heat and the instability that we have today, the humidity, once these storms popped, they could get going, and they have done so now in the eastern part of the News 10 viewing area. Some good news I want to pass along to you is that in Owen County, most of that thunderstorm has moved out of the area, so this is now transitioning over into northern Monroe County, but we still have active warnings because of the hail, and that has been a concern for the last hour or so as we've had hail reported in Clay County from Brazil down through Center Point and in those areas. So now we're taking a look again at the hail tracker. That red polygon around the bright colors that you're seeing is the tornado warning, but I will zoom in on the hail and you can see, I'll walk back up on screen so you can see where this hail is falling. Again, here's your color legend at the top. You see this shade of blue, that is quarter-sized hail. This darker blue is half-dollar-sized hail, and then radar is still indicating that we could be seeing ping pong to golf ball-sized hail as this cell moves down to the southeast towards Ellettsville. And we did get a report from the area of Spencer around 4:05 that this thunderstorm was producing golf or baseball-sized hail as it was moving down to the southeast. So it's been a pretty active afternoon with this thunderstorm, and we can continue to see that these storms are moving down to the southeast, and it is moving again at about 40 miles per hour. So we'll recap now the active warnings that we have in effect for the News 10 viewing area, starting with that tornado warning that is in effect for Monroe County. That is going to be in effect until 5 o'clock Eastern Time for radar indicated rotation. And then we also have the severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Davies, Martin, Greene, and another warning for southern Davies and Martin County. Those are until 4:30, also for that potential for large hail. It looks like we also got an update on the tornado watch, which this is unsurprising because as I've been saying, once the main line works through, That will bring an end to our severe threat. So Vigo and Park counties have been removed from the tornado watch. It continues for the rest of the areas shaded in yellow until 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, in fact, Everett, the sun is out. There's a clear sky here in Terre Haute. So you can see how these storms are now moving off to the east. They're still packing a pretty good punch. And as you say, a lot of hail and so on. But eventually, I think this is going to move out of here and probably settle down quite a lot.
Yeah, the main storm we've been concerned with was this tornado-warned storm that has now moved into northern Monroe County, so that is moving out of the Spencer area. You can see as it continues to track off to the east with that warning. We also have those other cells that have now popped up there around the Odin area, and then also now just to the south of Montgomery. We'll go back to the storm tracker and I can zoom in on those and show you a little bit closer what is going on with those thunderstorms. Where you see those pockets of lightning, that's where you're typically going to see some of that capability to see larger hail, and that's exactly what we've been seeing through the afternoon. These thunderstorms have been warned for the capability of producing some of that hail up to golf ball or ping pong ball sized. So we'll come back up on here. When you look at the legend, heavier rain indicated by those darker colors. Where you see this white, this is where the storm tracker is indicating some of that hail is falling. So now this part of the cell is just to the south of Lagodi. So if you're in Lagodi, probably seeing a lot of rain, hearing a lot of thunder with this thunderstorm, and you also have the potential to see some of that hail. And if it continues to slide off to the east, that could stay just to the south of Shoals. But if you're in Shoals, prepare now that you may be seeing a thunderstorm with some hail. Farther up to the north, we have Kevin Orpert driving the radar for me. You can see we still have this thunderstorm producing some of that hail concern right around Odin there in northeastern Davies County, right around the Crane area. You see in that white shade is where some of that hail could be falling. This thunderstorm also moving off to the east, and that was warned for a thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball sized hail. So now if we can go farther up to the north again, we'll go back up to Monroe County where we've had that tornado warning extended until 5 o'clock. This was initially issued until 4:15, but now as you see, Spencer's right here. Most of the thunderstorm is now out of Owen County. So at this point, if you're in Owen County, the threat has moved out of the area. Right around Ellettsville is where we're seeing most of the lightning associated with this. And at this point, this thunderstorm is staying just to the north of Bloomington, and this was for radar indicated rotation. So we haven't got any reports that there is a tornado on the ground. This thunderstorm's starting to spin a little bit, and we can see that on radar, and that is why they have issued that warning. So again, as we take a look with regional view, you can see this line is pushing off to the east. This is out ahead of a cold front. So if you're on the back side of this line, the threat for severe weather winding down. As Kevin mentioned earlier, sun coming out in Terre Haute. So these thunderstorms, once they move through your location, severe threat going to wind down pretty quickly. Anything else you have to add, Kevin?
No, I don't, Everett. I'm watching here the National Weather Service weather chat, and I don't see anything necessarily for our particular region. It looks like a lot of this is moving out. Let me see what I see. There was a storm report from Davies County, quarter-sized hail. You mentioned the hail. So they had quarter-sized hail down around Davies County in Washington, Indiana.
Yeah, no surprise there with that thunderstorm, and that is the cell that is now just to the south of Lagodi, so we can put the storm tracker or the hail tracker back on, and you can see that hail core up here in Monroe County. And we'll go back down to the south where you can see these areas. I'll go back over to the weather wall so I can kind of point those out better for you. And you can see where this hail core is here just to the east of Washington, moving off to the east. So around Lagodi, points to the south. If you're in southern Martin County, that's where you're going to want to be prepared that some of this hail is headed your way. And then for the cell a little bit farther to the north for Davies, Martin, and then southern Greene County, this thunderstorm riding right along the Davies-Greene County line at this point. And this thunderstorm looks like it's weakening just a little bit based on radar estimations. So again, this isn't any ground truth. We don't have any reports that this hail is falling. But this is what radar is detecting up in the clouds. And this is going to be moving towards Crane and then the southern part of Greene County there. So that's a look at what some of these thunderstorms are producing hail-wise. Of course, we still have that cell up there in Monroe County. Obviously has the tornado warning. That's getting a lot of attention, but it's still capable of producing some large hail up there in northern Monroe County. So you can see exactly by looking at the hail tracker where we're tracking some of that hail and be with those main thunderstorms there. And of course, with any thunderstorm, you're still going to be getting some heavy rain and some thunder and lightning. So those are going to be the areas we're most concerned with at this time. Anything new from you, Kevin?
Yeah, I got a report now from Ellettsville. You know, you're talking about that. That's that storm where you see Bloomington. That storm moving through Ellettsville. And we just had something else pop up here, Everett.
Yeah, we have a new tornado warning, it looks like, that was just issued for Greene, southern Greene, northern Davies, and northern Martin counties. So we'll zoom in on the storm tracker here. And that is going to be in effect until 5 o'clock. And that is also for radar indicated rotation. So at this time, there is nothing confirmed with that thunderstorm. It's like the one that we've had in Owen County. It's just starting to rotate.
Well, it is, and golf ball sized hail in Ellettsville. I started to say that before the tornado warning came up. So we had a golf ball sized hail in Ellettsville. And so that's some pretty good hail actually coming down.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've had some hailstorms of that magnitude in the Wabash Valley. Kind of a relatively quiet spring, but obviously you can still get hailstorms as we've entered the summertime. So let me get you the information from the National Weather Service on this tornado warning. At 4:19 Eastern Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, again, no confirmed reports of one on the ground, was located 8 miles south of Bloomfield, and it was moving to the east at 35 miles per hour. But in addition to that, there's still the threat for the hail, so I'm going to put some times of arrival on here. This is going to be a fairly rural part of the Wabash Valley, but areas just to the north of Odin. Main area that's going to be impacted is around Crane. So if you're in the Crane area, that's where you're going to be seeing most of the impacts from this thunderstorm. And we can move this off to the east at about 35 miles per hour. And that's going to be putting it in Crane at about 4:25, so here in about 4 minutes. Doan's around 4:31 and Silverville around 4:45.
All right, Everett, you've talked about tornadoes being radar indicated. Now, I do have something here from the Weather Service. Multiple reports of a tornado on the ground near New Whiteland. Okay, so that's not within the News 10 viewing area, but I want to give you an idea about what could be going on. This is a confirmed tornado over Greenwood, or 13 miles south of Indianapolis. And so that's,
so you can see this line of thunderstorms through the area. So yeah, just to the south of Indy, if you know anyone in the Indy metro area, they've been having the same issues with these thunderstorms. So those thunderstorms have confirmed tornadoes, but again, at this time, no confirmed reports of any tornadoes in the Wabash Valley, at least from any train spotters or law enforcement that's coming into the National Weather Service at this time. But we do have those 2 active tornado warnings. We'll recap those for Monroe County. This is in effect until 5 o'clock Eastern Time. In addition to the rotation, it is also capable of producing baseball-sized hail, and now they've officially taken Owen County out of that warning, which is good news and no surprise as that thunderstorm has moved out of the Spencer area. So this thunderstorm continues there in Monroe County, and then we also have the new tornado warning in effect for the Wabash Valley that was issued for northern Davies, northern Martin, and then southern Greene County. That is also until 5 o'clock for a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, not one occurring at this time, and ping pong ball sized hail. So just to put it in perspective, we'll zoom back in closer for you. Obviously Shoals, Lagodi are in Martin County. This is north of that area. This is up around Crane. This is not in the Washington area. This is for Odin, Newberry, but this is mostly to the east of Newberry at this point. So really this is centered around Crane. We can take a look at the velocity mode and see if there's anything showing up. You can see some of the brighter colors there.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
What you typically associate is you want to see the reds and the greens coming together, and there's a little bit right here. So this would be one of the main areas to be concerned with.
And I think that's one of the reasons that the Weather Service is issuing the tornado warning, because they're seeing this. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a tornado on the ground, but there's enough going on in the cloud itself, some rotation, some circulation and so on, that they're thinking, okay, this could produce a tornado. It doesn't take much for a tornado to drop down out of a cloud when you see a situation like this.
And then farther to the south, we still have that active warning. If you're watching us down in Lagodi and Shoals area, this one is for hail. This is just a severe thunderstorm warning for Davies and Martin County until 4:30. So we'll see if they extend this into the rest of Martin County here in about 6 minutes. But this was for a thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball sized hail. So again, as we've been saying, kind of 2 threats with these thunderstorms.
Yeah, that seems to be the situation here, Everett. We're getting a lot of hail reported out of these storms.
And that's been kind of the biggest concern. It kind of started in eastern Vigo County, even in towards Brazil. We started getting those reports of hail, right, and then it's been continuing to advance. So this is a look at the hail tracker. Again, you can see that hail core just to the north of Bloomington. It looks like it's staying on the north side of Bloomington at this point, right around State Route 45. So that thunderstorm continues to move off to the east. Then this cell that does have that tornado warned storm right around Crane. Again, that's been the area we've been talking about a lot. That's where we're seeing some of the largest hail indicators. And then down here, this cell is just to the south of Lagodi along 231. That also continues to slide off to the east.
And the hail can produce quite a lot of damage, especially when crops now are, the corn is coming out. And in many cases, the corn is, several inches high, almost knee high. It's almost the 4th of July. And while farmers have been wanting to have some rain, what they don't want is hail, because that will shred the crop if they're not careful.
Right, and unfortunately, it's been kind of a rough season. We've been so dry,
Yes, yeah.
and now we're getting some rain, but in addition to that, we're also seeing the hail as well. So we'll go back up and look at the storm tracker again.
Oh, wow, hold on. Ellettsville, now this is a public report, so you got to take this kind of for what it is. But in Ellettsville, they're reporting tennis ball sized hail. That's
a hailstone, yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that cell continues to move over into northern Monroe County, just to the north of Bloomington. You can see all the lightning that's associated with this. Again, as we've been saying, we have the tornado warnings, but don't forget about the hail threat that is associated with some of these thunderstorms. Another update on the tornado warning now for southern Greene, northeastern Davies, and Martin County. That remains in effect, but it does stay as a radar-indicated tornado or radar-indicated rotation. So nothing confirmed on the ground with that thunderstorm, but it continues to move off to the east. And then the Crane area is still where this thunderstorm is centrally located.
And I think what's going to happen here, Everett, is as this all moves out of here, things will settle down. Now, the tornado watch is in effect still for some areas until 8 o'clock tonight. But as you mentioned, they're starting to slice a little bit of that off somewhat. So the threat of storms with tornadoes is going to gradually diminish as we get into the next hour or so. As all of this moves off to the east, these storms are moving out of the News 10 viewing area, but they're moving into south central Indiana and then eastern Indiana.
Yeah, those have been the areas that we've been seeing kind of a heightened risk of severe weather today. They've seen the sunshine all day long, and so if you know anyone that's outside of the Wabash Valley off to the east, Bedford area, over towards Seymour, Cincinnati, these thunderstorms are going to be headed in their direction, and it's been warm enough that they will continue to have the threat for some strong weather.
Yeah, that thunderstorm warning now. You have that there for
Yes.
Davies and Martin counties until 5 o'clock. So it's 4:27 right now. And so that severe thunderstorm warning now for Davies and Martin counties until 5 o'clock.
Yes, they have extended that. That was set to expire at 4:30, so they've obviously extended that. Also, the National Weather Service in Louisville has issued one for Orange County, so the Paoli area, as that thunderstorm continues to head in that direction. If I can pull up the information.
East to 35.
35,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're holding pretty steady, anywhere from about 30 to 40 miles per hour. This thunderstorm located 7 miles west of Shoals, and it was moving east, as Kevin said, at 30 miles per hour. They've also updated that warning to include wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, in addition to the ping pong ball sized hail. And that doesn't come as much of a surprise, because to get stronger hail, you have to have stronger wind in the storm.
Yes, you do. And so that's going to be the case. And, if you don't, it may not be a tornado that comes through your area or nearby, but you get a 70-mile-an-hour gust, and that's going to bring down some limbs, lawn furniture, those kinds of things that are unsecured. And so that can be a bit of a situation as well.
And so obviously a lot of trees down in that part of the Wabash Valley down in Martin County, a lot of woodland areas, so may cause some power outages and things of that nature as that thunderstorm continues to move through. We can zoom in a little bit closer. As I mentioned, it was near Shoals, the core of that thunderstorm staying just to the south of Shoals. So if you're anywhere south of Shoals down to almost the Martin County line there, that's where you're going to see most of the impacts from that thunderstorm. Coming back up to the north, where we continue with this tornado warning. This is in effect for southern Greene, northeastern Davies, and northern Martin counties. This is in effect until 5 o'clock. So again, capable of producing a tornado. It doesn't mean one is on the ground, but also capable of producing some of that rotation and the hail We have the tornado warning that does continue for Monroe County. That is also until 5 o'clock. But that thunderstorm is starting to transition out of the News 10 viewing area. It is now mostly to the east of Bloomington, and that's going to be moving over towards Nashville. So if you know anyone in the Brown County area, that is going to be headed in that direction. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the hail cores once again with this thunderstorm, looking at the hail tracker. Even with that rotation there in Monroe County, you're still seeing radar indicating that we could be seeing some of that hail up to $1/4 to $1/2 sized. Another little hail core showing up down here in the southern part of Monroe County. But back in the Wabash Valley, we are still seeing that indication of some larger hail right around Crane. And then farther down to the south, really starting to see some of those deeper blues showing up here just to the south of Lagodi and to the south of Shoals. That could be $1/2 to up to ping pong ball sized hail with that storm.
All right, here we go. Here's something that's just come up here, a tornado warning for Davies, Greene, Lawrence, Martin counties. Okay, so that's that little area right there. Let me tell you what I'm seeing here. At 4:30, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 10 miles southeast of Bloomfield, or 19 miles west of Bedford. It's moving east at 35. So that's the storm they're looking at that has some indications of the possibility of maybe a tornado producing storm at any rate. There is not a tornado that has been confirmed. It is radar indicated. And I think it's important to point that out, that it's radar indicated, but if you have a radar indicated tornado, I think it's probably wise to just consider that as a tornado that truly exists.
Right. One could develop at any time. So you want to take your tornado precautions, go to the lowest, most interior room of your home or your business. If you're working somewhere, if you're in a mobile home, you want to abandon those, try to seek sturdier shelter if there's time to do so. Again, that main area of concern is going to be in northern Martin County. So a fairly rural part of the Wabash Valley, but still some people out there in that part of the area. New warning just came out for southern Monroe County. So we were talking about that hail core that was to the south of Bloomington. They did put a warning out on that one. That's going to be in effect until 5:15 for a thunderstorm capable of producing $1/2 sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Okay, so I don't have anything new at this point. Of course, we do have thunderstorm and tornado warnings across the area. And we continue to have a tornado watch in effect for at least a portion of the News 10 viewing area. There you can see that right there. Clay, Sullivan, Knox, Davies, Martin, Greene, and Monroe counties. And interestingly, this is where a lot of the storms are firing up. Not so much in Sullivan, I don't think, at this point. But Sullivan, after that tornado on the 31st of March, and also in Crawford County, I think it's important that people be aware that these storms could get out of hand very quickly.
That's right. And fortunately, at this time, we do not have any confirmed reports that any tornadoes have touched down.
Right.
Of course, we're not everywhere across the Wabash Valley, so if you're seeing any damage once these thunderstorms pass, of course, report that to your local EMA office or your local law enforcement, and you can forward reports to the newsroom as well. You can email the newsroom any photos of damage that you may have, news10@WTHI-TV.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and social media.
All right, so this is supposed to go on until 8 o'clock tonight, Everett. I'm not convinced at this point that at least our viewing area will continue the tornado watch until 8 o'clock. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And once this main line comes through, that's going to kind of bring our severe threat down to an end. I can loop the storm tracker so you can see where they've been going. Fired up right around the state line.
Sure did.
And quickly pulsed up and turned severe, especially right around Brazil. That's where we first started seeing some of the reports of the hail. And then that's actually the same cell that's now diving down to the east of Bloomington. So once it kind of fired up and rotated, it headed down to the southeast. And then we've had these additional cells develop now into Davies, Martin, and Greene counties. But you can see around Indianapolis, they're still seeing some tornado-warned storms down there around Greenwood, and then also some storms headed towards Muncie, and even up towards Fort Wayne. So this is a long line that's fired up along this cold front.
And yeah, that is a cold front. It's very well defined. I don't know if you have it right there because you're using your section of the machine. Can we check out the temperatures farther off to the west? Is that possible for you?
Maybe.
I don't want to get in your way here too much. But and the other thing, while you're doing that, while we've needed rain, before I came in, I was well, it's still pretty warm out to the west, isn't it?
Yeah, here we go. Here's the map we're on.
Yeah, okay.
There we can see, locally we're still in the 90s in many spots, but they're off to the north.
Okay,
Moline's down to
that's what
77.
I was looking for. Moline's 77, up in Chicago it's 81. And those temperatures are more what you would expect here for this time of year, actually, if not just a little bit below.
Yeah,
and
look at Evansville, 98.
Wow, yeah. And that's a toasty 98. Carbondale, 99. And so what I started to say is, while we have needed rain, we've got here at the TV station 4,500s, not even quite half an inch of rain. This is not the kind of weather that is going to alleviate the drought problem.
Right.
You know, we've gotten a little bit of rain, but over on the east side of town, before I came in here, it rained, it just poured, the sun came out, and a lot of that evaporated right back up.
Yeah, and it's been really humid today from that round of storms that we had come through during the morning hours.
Right.
It looks like we do have a new warning that just got issued, Kevin, for the cell down in the southern part of Davies and Martin County. So this is a new tornado warning that has been issued for Davies and Martin County until 5 o'clock. So originally we've been talking about the thunderstorm in the north part of those counties, but now this has moved back down to this cell that has still producing potentially up to golf ball sized hail. And this is also radar indicated rotation. So at 4:34 Eastern time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Shoals, moving to the east at 40 miles per hour. So I will go ahead and put the velocity mode back on there so we can look inside that thunderstorm and see where that storm of concern is. And it is right around Shoals, where you see the reds and the greens coming together.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to be seeing some of that rotation. So in this area here, looks like it's mostly to the south of Shoals, but
It does, yes.
don't want to question that distance in a time like this.
Right. And let me see here. I'm just, because we have a line here directly to the Weather Service, and it's called a chat. And so we get a lot of information here out of the Weather Service. And see, down in Crane reported, well, this is interesting. You know, I don't want to get this too blown out of proportion, but they do have a report of a tornado at 4:33, a confirmed tornado, debris visible rotating on the ground. That's down in Martin County near Crane. Can you look at that? Actually, that's what you were just looking at.
That was actually the southern cell. This is the one that's back in the northern part of Martin County. So I turned off the lightning so you can kind of see there on radar. This was law enforcement confirmed, so they did get a report from the law enforcement down there.
And they're trained. You know, it's not that the person just watching couldn't confirm a tornado, but law enforcement, they're trained to kind of know what to look for. So it doesn't say anything about damage or anything like that, but apparently there is some debris flying around on the ground, and that was reported near Crane at 4:36.
And then you look on your screen there, you can see Kale right there. Where you see those red and the greens, that's what we've been talking about. When you get those two close together, that's where you're going to be seeing some of that rotation, and that's the area they're talking about. So it's this part of Martin County, kind of north central Martin County. That is a rural area, but this is where the National Weather Service has said there's been a confirmed tornado that's been reported by law enforcement. So up there around Crane, and that's another more ominous update. When you see the blues, that's kind of like even stronger winds. So the brighter the colors you see in velocity mode, the stronger the wind is. So I'm not surprised at all to see that indication there, since they've said there's a confirmed tornado.
Yeah, that's a very strong storm. And so, at any rate, you know, I'm looking at this here.
Looks like that cell to the south also is having a lot of rotation. You can now see it just to the south of Shoals. Those reds and the blues are showing up once again. So this is also going to be a strong part of the thunderstorm. That's why there is a tornado warning in effect for the northern part of Martin County and also the southern part of Martin County. Both of those going to be in effect until 5 o'clock this evening. At this time, I don't believe they've had any confirmation on the southern one.
No, I don't see that either. I'm seeing reports in other places here in Indiana, Johnson County, for example, large trees down. So, you know, this is a storm situation that's producing some really gusty wind, as you mentioned, wind gusts of 70 miles an hour or higher, actually.
Right.
And so that's causing a problem. But for our own particular area, I think we should recap about what you have going on. If you want to get up there, I'll drive the radar for you.
All right, so yeah, we do have multiple warnings in effect for the southeastern part of the Wabash Valley. So starting off, we'll go up into the northern part of Martin County, and that's going to be a tornado warning in effect for Davies and Martin County until 5 o'clock. This is one that the National Weather Service has said that there was a confirmed tornado reported by law enforcement around Crane. That was around 5:35, so about 5 minutes ago. That's where they had that report. This is going to be for northern Martin County. So again, this is going to be pushing into pretty rural parts of Martin County, but eventually sliding over in towards Lawrence County. So if you know anyone in Bedford, that is going to be headed in that direction as we continue to see that thunderstorm push off, in addition to the rotation still producing large hail, with at times this thunderstorm producing hail up to ping pong ball sized. Now farther to the south, also in Martin County, we still have that tornado warning that is in effect for the southern part of the county. This does technically include the eastern part of Davies County, but this is a separate thunderstorm. This is the one that is rotating as we get down to the southern part of Martin County around Shoals. So we have this cell here in eastern Knox County, not severe. Still some heavy rain falling if you're in that part of Knox County, and over towards Washington, still seeing some rain. Also around Montgomery, you're seeing a thunderstorm. It is currently under a severe thunderstorm warning. And look at that rainfall rate, almost 3 inches an hour. So that's that heavy rain that Kevin was mentioning that's not necessarily beneficial for these drought conditions.
Right. And so this is just a really rainy situation, Everett.
That's right. And in addition to the rain, we also have the hail that has been reported. So when you see some of these colors here, that is indicating some of the hail that could also be possible. So if you can drive it back down towards Shoals, Kevin, we'll look at that cell. Again, this is the one that had some rotation reported with it. This was still the radar indicated tornado warning. This is just to the south of Shoals. So again, Martin County is a pretty rural county, but there's still people that live in that area. So if you're in the southern part of Martin County, you're going to want to seek shelter basically from Shoals down towards the county line along US Highway 150. That's where we're seeing some of that rotation in those areas. And in addition to that, still seeing some large hail with that. And then back up into the northern part of Martin County, this thunderstorm has been kind of following the green Martin County line. This is the one that did have a report from law enforcement at 4:35 of a confirmed tornado near Crane. So Crane's right about here, and this is starting to move off to the east. So again, going to be rural, hilly landscape through this area, but that's going to be the area of concern. There's Crane, as Kevin mentioned, so that's where we're seeing that report at 4:34. 4:34, and that continues to move off to the east. So if you're in Bedford, you know anyone in Bedford, that's where that thunderstorm is headed. And then we also have the cell that's been up around Bloomington, but that has now mostly crossed over into portions of Brown County. Still some large hail going to be possible here in the southern tip of Monroe County around Monroe Lake. But you can see the number of warnings that we have down here for the southeastern part of the Wabash Valley. And it looks like if you know anyone down here into Du Bois or Orange County, the National Weather Service in Louisville has issued a tornado warning for that cell that is coming out of Martin County. Have you seen anything new from the chat room, Kevin?
Let me check here. No, I don't see. They're starting to issue warnings now a little farther off to our east. While we still have some in effect for our viewing area at 4:42, nothing new has been issued for our area. What we continue is what has already been issued.
So we continue with a couple tornado warnings, mostly Martin County. That's going to be the area that we've seen most of the threat with these thunderstorms. So northern Martin County, again, that's where we had the report of a confirmed tornado around Crane. That was just after 4:30, so about 10 minutes ago now. And that thunderstorm continues to move off to the east, headed over towards Lawrence County. So that warning continues until 5 o'clock Eastern time. So after it gets out of Martin County, obviously Lawrence County, Indiana, is where that threat's going to be, and over towards the city of Bedford.
So most of our warnings, the way I see it right now, Everett, will expire at 5 o'clock. So we've got about another 18 minutes or so for warnings to be in effect. And if they don't issue any newer ones for our area, a lot of this will start to move out of the area.
Yeah, we can zoom back out on the storm tracker and you can see most of the Wabash Valley not seeing any issues. Sun shining. It's still a hot day with those temperatures in the 90s, but down to the southeast as this front comes across the area, it has kicked up this line of storms and they have been rotating. So I'll put the velocity mode back on so we can see what's going on inside these thunderstorms. And I don't see as tight of rotation with that thunderstorm there in Martin County, so that might be a good sign. Obviously, still seek shelter if you're in northern Martin County or Lawrence County, but there is a lot of wind showing up here with these bright colors down here in the southeastern corner of Martin County. This is going to be south of Shoals, but if you're in this little tip of Martin County, just to the south of U.S. Highway 150, that's where we're seeing some of that rotation as it continues to move to the southeast and has prompted the tornado warning for portions of Orange County off to the southeast.
And a tornado warning now has been issued for Monroe, Lawrence, and Jackson and Brown counties until 5:30. So that's that storm we've been tracking, and so that has been extended actually until 5:30 for a little larger area for that tornado warning. But that is a radar indicated tornado, which means that it's not necessarily a tornado on the ground, but it's a very dangerous situation. So you need to consider that as being something that you want to take very seriously. It's interesting to, when you see big storms like this, it's interesting and kind of tempting to go out and take a look and try to get it on your phone, your video or whatever, but that's also a really good way to get hurt. So
yeah, if you're under one of these tornado warnings, you want to go to the lowest, most interior room, wait these thunderstorms out as they pass over the area, put the lightning back on. Still a lot of lightning being detected with these thunderstorms. Not uncommon for summertime thunderstorms.
Well, yeah, and a lot of lightning. It's interesting because lightning indicates there's a lot of up and down motion in the cloud. And so you get friction with little ice particles and droplets of water and so on in the cloud, and that creates an electrical charge. And that's where you get lightning. And so lightning can often be associated with some heavy rain and hail, because those are two of the things that help to produce lightning too.
And that's definitely what we've been seeing with the reports that have been coming in. Again, hail sizes up to ping pong ball sized, or even baseball at times have been some of the reports, but no reports of that at the moment. We can take a look again at the hail tracker, and this is going to be showing where some of those hail pockets are. Just to the south of Shoals is still where we're seeing some hail. So while we've been saying the rotations in the southern part, oftentimes when you get these thunderstorms to form, a lot of times you'll find rotation on the south end of the thunderstorm, and you'll find the heaviest rain, and they'll just hail kind of on the north side of the storm.
All right, we mentioned earlier that Crane had a possible tornado around there. And so here's a report that I've just received from law enforcement down in Daviess County. They report multiple trees down on homes and cars, but no reports of injuries at this time, so that's good. But down around Crane in Daviess County, thunderstorm damage, multiple trees down on homes and cars, and no reports of injuries. And I would also suspect power is a problem down there as well.
And that's been from that cell that continues that tornado warning. Again, both of our warnings for Martin County continue until 5 o'clock, and they just trimmed that down a little bit. So northeastern Daviess County is now out of the warning. So that area where the tornado was reported by law enforcement is now outside of the warning. This thunderstorm now well off to your east, but it does continue for northeastern Martin County, southeastern Greene County, and then western Lawrence County until 5 o'clock. It was located 8 miles west of Bedford, moving east at 35 miles per hour. And they have gone back and just said radar indicated rotation. Not surprisingly, because when we looked at the rotation, it had looked like it had weakened a little bit.
Now, after all of this moves through, what is your thinking about what we're gonna deal with for the rest of the night?
The rest of the night's going to be a lot quieter once we get through that. Obviously, here in Terre Haute, as you said when you came in, sun was still shining.
Oh, the sun.
And so we're expecting a mostly clear sky once these thunderstorms move out. So once you get out from underneath these thunderstorms, weather's going to calm down pretty nicely. Maybe some spotty showers tomorrow afternoon, but not the severe threat that we've seen in eastern areas.
Okay, that's good. And also probably not enough rain to help things as much as far as this drought goes.
Especially when you get a downpour like some of the precipitation rates you were seeing earlier. The ground's so dry, all the water just runs off the fields and runs away.
Yeah. So let me see here. Shelbyville, again, that's not necessarily in our area, but penny-sized hail. There's been a lot of hail across the area.
These thunderstorms built up really quick and produced that large hail pretty quickly. And so in addition to, obviously we're on the air because of the rotation and the possible tornadoes that could develop, but the hail is also another threat, can obviously cause a lot of property damage to homes, cars, and especially around this area, crops this time of year now that they're up.
corn especially, right? Corn is more susceptible to hail damage, right? Or beans?
I feel like both would be, but corn, especially with the pointier leaves, it kind of strips them down.
Right. Okay, good. So we've got warnings until 5 o'clock, and I suspect if we'll go until the warnings are allowed to expire, and then we'll just take a break because you have a 6 o'clock newscast.
That's
right?
correct.
So I want you to be able to get ready for that. Tell you what, why don't you get over there and I'll drive again for you, and you can just show everybody what's happening, and then we'll start to wrap this up a little bit. It's at 10 minutes until 5 o'clock right now, 4:50.
That's right, 4:50. So most of these warnings are in effect until 5 o'clock Indiana time. And you can see there's just a lot of colors showing up here. So we have tornado warnings and or severe thunderstorm warnings in effect basically from Monroe County all the way down into southern Daviess County. And these thunderstorms are trying to form into one big line, and that would actually be better if they form into a line. It just turns into more of a wind threat rather than rotating thunderstorms. But right now, each individual storm is still rotating a little bit. So we'll start in southern Monroe County, where we continue this tornado warning for Monroe County and then moving into portions of Brown and Jackson counties. So that moves off to the southeast. That's in effect until 5:30. So that one's in effect for a little bit longer. That was for radar indicated rotation. So no confirmation on that one. Then we've had the tornado, possible tornado near Crane. That was around 4:30, but this warning still continues until 5 o'clock for southeastern Greene, northeastern Martin, and western Lawrence County, Indiana. But that was also taken back to radar indicated. So it has weakened enough that they don't think that a tornado is on the ground, but one could develop at any time. At this time, this warning does not include Bedford. I wouldn't be surprised if they extend that warning here in the next few minutes because this one is set to expire at 5. But the good news is most of that storm is now pushing out of Martin County and over into Lawrence County, Indiana. However, farther to the south, down in southern Martin County, we're still dealing with the back edge of this thunderstorm. We see a lot of lightning being detected down around French Lick, and so this is the thunderstorm that produced some of the large hail, and then it has also been producing some of that rotation, mostly staying to the south of Shoals with the rotation at least. Still some heavy rain and the possibility for some hail from Lagodi to Shoals earlier, but now the core of that thunderstorm also trying to dive down to the south, right over the French Lick area now. Paoli is also under a tornado warning, so that thunderstorm now starting to make its way out of the immediate News 10 viewing area as it continues to move down to the southeast. And again, this warning is also in effect until 5 o'clock. Now, farther off to the west, obviously here in Lagodi, you can see that on the map, still some heavy rain falling there, and also just to the north of Washington along Interstate 69, still seeing the downpour there. At this time, this storm is below severe limits. This warning box that you see here was from a thunderstorm a little bit earlier. So still seeing some heavy rain in Lagodi, still some lightning being detected. But the threat for severe weather in that part of the county is down to the southeast. So at this time, it's mostly Martin County that is most under the threat for some of these stronger storms. We've had the storm up to the north that did have a reported tornado at 4:30. There was a report of some damage over there around Crane, but no reports of injuries at this time. That cell working over into Lawrence County, Indiana. So northern Martin County, things starting to quiet down. Southern Martin County, the main storm moving down towards French Lick, but you'd still have some development here in central Daviess County that's going to continue to push down to the southeast. And then you can see Kevin putting the storm tracker in motion, showing you over the last few hours, nothing really in our Illinois communities, but this cold front started to push across. And as we've said earlier in the day, wherever this cold front was coming through during the heat of the day, that's where those thunderstorms would pop, and that's exactly what happened pretty near the state line. And then these thunderstorms have been racing to the southeast ever since and producing this collage of warnings that we see extending from Daviess and Martin County up into Monroe County, and now starting to slide out of the immediate News 10 viewing area. But thunderstorms continue beyond that. If you know anyone up around Indianapolis, they've been dealing with severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings as well. This one earlier around Greenwood, you can still see that warning there. And even farther up to the north, Muncie up to Fort Wayne, still dealing with some of these thunderstorms as this cold front works across the state. But also, as we mentioned, earlier we had that tornado watch issued until 8 o'clock Indiana time. But once this main line comes through, that's going to put our severe threat to the end. Once the cold front passes over your area, we're going to start to wind down. Skies are going to clear out. We're expecting to mostly clear skies as we get into the overnight hours. So really, for the immediate News 10 viewing area, it's just going to be the next 15 minutes to a half hour, depending on this cell here in Daviess County. Once these thunderstorms push out, I think we're going to be in for a much quieter evening. Have you gotten any new information, Kevin?
No, I don't, Everett. thunderstorm warnings are continued or issued until about 5:30 for just the ones that we've already mentioned. I don't see any new thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings, at least not anywhere within the News 10 or the MyFocus 10 viewing area. Pardon me. So this is, I think, gradually going to move out, and probably the rest of the evening we'll be able to settle down a little bit.
That's right, and obviously the newsroom will be checking into those reports of damage that we've gotten down there around Crane.
Yeah.
If you're coming back out of your safe place and you have thunderstorm damage, be sure to report that to your EMA office, law enforcement, but also you can send any damage photos to us using news10 at WTHI-TV.com, that email address.
All right, and the Weather Service just said they're going to expire the tornado warning for Daviess and Martin counties, and that goes on until 5 o'clock. I suppose they'll let it ride for about another 5 minutes, but after that, they're not going to reissue it.
Yeah, and that's certainly some good news for those of you in Martin County that have been under the gun here for the last hour or so as these thunderstorms have been moving through. You can see around Bloomington, that thunderstorm has pushed to the east of the city of Bloomington. So most of this is now shifting just outside the immediate News 10 viewing area, so some good news there.
Well, it is, and it's 4:55, and so I think what we should do I'm going to wait until 5 o'clock, until these expire here, because that expires there in just part of Greene County.
Yes, that one expires at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and so does the one down south, correct?
Yep. That one's for Du Bois and Orange County.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a little bit farther to the southeast.
So until 5 o'clock, and that one, I know that Daviess and Martin, that will be allowed to expire at 5 o'clock. So I think what we should do is do a quick recap, Everett, about what has been happening, and then we'll take a break, and you'll have News 10 at 6 on WTHI-TV. And you can bring everybody up to date about what's going on. And hopefully by that time, we may have had some information from law enforcement and so on. I know that sometimes when we call down and ask them what's going on, they're very, very busy.
Right, understandably. Yeah.
And they'll say, hey, can we call you back? And so we don't have any reports of injuries or so on. But the reports I do have are trees down, a tree on some houses, maybe a car and so on. And that was down in Daviess County, I believe, where I mentioned that.
Yeah, that was around Crane and just to the southwest of Crane. So This is where that thunderstorm kind of fired up earlier. And that's when law enforcement reported that confirmed tornado. Obviously, this thunderstorm has moved well off to the east now. But that's the area so far that we've heard of some damage from these storms.
Okay. And so some of these storms, as they linger, still have the potential to produce some hail, because that's been pretty much the thing today.
Yeah.
Other than the wind, we've had some very windy conditions, but hail. It's been a long time since I've had so many reports of hail. Golf ball. We had a tennis ball size hail. So. A lot of hail out there.
And that'll impact a lot more people. Obviously, the rotation has just been kind of confined to certain areas, but some of these thunderstorms have been large enough that hail could be falling over large areas. So you maybe didn't see the largest hail, but you still saw hailstones.
It doesn't do your car any good if it's parked outside.
Right.
You get that hail damage and so on.
Damage to roofs and, as we mentioned, crops as well.
Roofs, it's true. So at any rate, that's kind of the way things are shaping up here on this Sunday evening, where it's 4:58. Is there anything you want to mention to wrap this up?
At this point, again, most of those warnings set to expire at 5, and for the most part, we think most of those will. The only part of the News 10 viewing area still seeing some thundery weather and lightning showing up here is right around Lagodi. At this time, those warnings that you see are not for this cell. It was for the cell that moved through earlier. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep a close eye on that area. Obviously, still some heavy rain falling with that. Based on the history of these other cells, we could be seeing some hail. I'll go ahead and put the hail tracker on. We'll see if it's detecting anything down there in Martin County. Again, it's showing the main hail core that's down around French Lick now. And there is a little bit of hail trying to show up there. That would be pea to marble size, potentially up to penny-sized hail. So certainly still some small hail possible with that thunderstorm. But at this point, the warned storms are moving out of the area.
All right, and so now at 4:59, I think probably what we should do is just take a break. We've probably covered about as much as we can without repeating ourselves a lot. So you have a newscast in 1 hour.
Right, News 10 at 6.
News 10 at 6. And hopefully we can gather some information about what has been going on in the area as far as any damage or power outages and things like that. So what we'll do is just go back to our regular programming here at TV 10 and also on my Fox 10. And we'll come back and let everybody know what's going on when we do the news at 6.
Right.
You're watching Storm Team 10 coverage area, and with storm coverage you can truly count on.